Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 3 of the Sjp Files. I am your host, SJP. As always, you can just call me Jay. Now, last week at the end of episode 2, I know I promised a 2-episode week this week, but there was a bit of an audio issue on Thursday, so I couldn't get the episode out. And after episode 1, I promised very much so that I would never do an episode with bad audio like that ever again. It's very hard to listen to. Even when I was listening to episode 1, I found it very irritating. I found the echo, the reverb very irritating. So even I don't listen to that episode. Sorry. Now, for those of you who have been listening to the pod, I did do a cleaned up audio version of episode 1. You can find that on my YouTube channel, the Sjp Chronicles. Let me know in the comment section what you think of episode 1. You could also find episode 2. And I'll be eventually clipping out parts of each episode to put on the YouTube channel along with the full episodes, where you can find here on Anchor and on Spotify. Now, for those of you who are avid listeners of the show, you know that I usually start with the X Files opening on Anchor and Spotify. But this week, I wanted to try something new. I wanted to see if I could get the episode up on more platforms like Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and so on and so forth. So to do that, I cannot use Spotify Music. Now, next week, I'm going to get all the announcements out first. Next week is Christmas. So the plan for next week is to put out, once again, 2 shows. Now, we're going to do the normal sports show here, but for all you movie listeners, next week I plan on putting out a movie edition of the Sjp Files, which will be definitely be able to find on my YouTube channel. Once again, the Sjp Chronicles. But you're also going to have another feed of the podcast, a separate movie feed, the Sjp Files movie edition. I will be going over and reviewing the premieres of both Soul on Disney Plus and Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max. So if you're a movie listener, hop over to the Sjp Files movie edition for that podcast. Now, this week was supposed to be a 2-episode week, like I said earlier. I was going to go over the ESPN top 100 best players for 2021 and the Sports Illustrated top 100 list also came out this week. So I was planning on doing both of those over the week. But like I said, had audio issues on Thursday, so I couldn't do that. But this week, I'm going to do a little bit of both on this podcast. First, I'm going to go through the stories happening throughout the week in basketball, a little bit of football, and then there's also some baseball news that I'd like to get to also. Now, this week's major news in the NBA is very, very simple. Giannis Antetokounmpo signed his 5-year Supermax extension worth, I believe, $228 million. Now, for those of you who kind of been, living on a rock, Giannis is the reigning 2-time MVP, reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Like I said, he just signed a 5-year Supermax to stay in Milwaukee, which a lot of people believe is great for the NBA. Me personally, I'm not 100% sure which side I fall on. I think that Giannis is a great player, but he's also a limited player. His main issue is kind of Ben Simmons' main issue. He can't shoot. Now, unlike Simmons, Ben Simmons actually will, take an open jump shot. Giannis Antetokounmpo will take open jump shots. He will step into threes. so you do have to guard him. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but I think he could be competent one day. But in the half court offense, he needs a counterpunch. What he needs now, personally, I think a post game would be great for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think he could be like a young Shaq in Orlando. Go back in the half court, back to the basket. Now that's something I think he probably would have worked on this offseason, but with the shortened 70-day offseason, that's probably not going to happen. So he's going to either have to work on it throughout the season, or you're going to see him work on it next offseason, which is what I honestly would do. I would try and work it into my game this throughout the regular season, and then fine tune it this off season. Try and find some guys to work with. See if you get Shaq to give you some pointers. Hakeem Olajuwon, probably the greatest post player in NBA history, alongside Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those two, their post games are absolutely legendary. Sorry about the coughing, guys. Ugh. Been a little sick the last couple days. I do not have COVID. It's just a little phlegm. I get really, I get some bad congestion around this time every single year. But everybody thinks you got COVID. If you got even a little bit of sniffles this time around, but I'm fine. Just a little bit of congestion. Now, back to Giannis. Giannis's deal keeps him in Giannis's deal keeps him in Milwaukee for the next 5 years. With that being said, I'm not exactly sure if this is good or bad for the NBA. I think it's great for Giannis. I think he's a loyal guy. He's not part of the he's not part of the AAU circuit in the NBA. His his how do I put this? He wasn't raised stateside. He was raised in Greece, as a lot of you know. So I think he's not as indoctrinated into the NBA style of players where they're all kind of into where they all know each other, and they're all very much, well, they all know each other, and they all been playing together since they were kids. And I don't think he's about that. Now, Giannis also said, with a smile after being asked about his 5-year extension, that he wants to stay in Milwaukee. This is his city. He wants to have kids, win a championship, all he wants. And after that, his life's complete. He could, retire. But pretty sure he was joking. Actually, I think he said he was joking. But this year, Giannis has got a lot to prove. This new team that they put around him, not really that new. They signed DJ Augustine this year. They also, traded for what's the name? Drew Holiday from New Orleans, and failed to trade for Bogdanovich in a spectacular failure of a front office. Not, just not having the ducks in order. But I think Giannis is kind of out. This is not going to be a year Giannis wins 3 straight MVPs. He will not be joining that Larry Bird company. That's not going to happen. He's out of the MVP. He could average 40 this year. He's not winning the MVP. That's just not happening. The MVP candidates for this year are really, honestly, I think it's Luka's to lose this year. I really believe that. I really believe it's Luka Doncic's MVP to lose this year. Kevin Durant's fresh coming off an injury, so I don't think he'll be in the running. I don't think he'll be physically ready enough to win an MVP. I don't think LeBron's going to play enough this year. And Anthony Davis playing with LeBron, that's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen. He's not going to win the MVP. I think he has a chance at the Defensive Player of the Year award this year, because I don't think they're going to give it to you. They might give Giannis the Defensive Player of the Year award this year. He might win back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards, but he's not going to win a third straight MVP. That's not going to happen. And the voter fatigue with LeBron, even though he hasn't won an MVP in like a decade, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The man has got 4. He should definitely have 6. He should definitely have at least 6 MVPs. It's ridiculous. Last week, I'm gonna get to another couple of things. Now, last week, James Harden made his debut for the Houston Rockets, and Jesus Christ, looked a little, looked a little pudgy, looked a little out of shape. He was still hitting his patented, step back threes, but Harden looked out of shape. He just did. I don't know how committed Harden really is to winning. And yeah, like I said, I'm not sure how committed Harden is to winning basketball. I think he's so well. We'll see. He's hitting his patented, step back threes, but he still very much wants to be traded. And as I said last week, if I'm Houston, keeping him. I'm not trading him anytime soon. If I'm Houston, I want James Harden in Houston until I get an offer that completely blows me out of the water. Now, that's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna say on the James Harden issue because it's an issue that's gonna keep evolving. I know the Houston Rockets expanded their trade partners to pretty much anybody in the league. I think that Daryl Morey and the Phoenix Suns, not the Phoenix, I said Phoenix, the Philadelphia 76ers, I think they're gonna have basically the right of first refusal. I think any deal that they come up with, that the Houston Rockets come up with for James Harden, I think they're going to take it to Philadelphia and say, hey, this is what we're getting from such and such. Are you willing to put Ben Simmons on the table? Because Ben Simmons is the best player they could get in a trade for James Harden. And I think the Philadelphia 76ers want to give, Simmons and Embiid a try in this Doc Rivers run offense and Daryl Morey run team. They got new shooters on the corner, so we'll see. I'm not the biggest believer in this team. I think they'll finish in the top 5. Like I said, I think they'll finish in the top 5 in the Eastern Conference, but they're not going to win a championship. I think they'll get past the first round, maybe, depending on who they face. And then round 2, they're going to get beat again. Ben Simmons is too much of a liability in the playoffs. His inability to shoot shrinks the court because playoff basketball is half court ball. That's what it is. Playoff basketball is half court basketball. And if you are not a good half court player, if you can't shoot, you can't be a good half court player and not be able to shoot. You just can't. And Ben Simmons' inability to shoot shrinks the court in the playoffs. And the court is already shrinks. The game slows down. It's more physical. So the physicality is great for Ben because Ben's 6'10", like 240 pounds or something like that. He's a big player, and I like him. But those two, I don't think can play together. I don't even think those two really like each other. I think they're cordial, but they're not, friends. They're not friends. And you don't have to be friends to win, but their games are not compatible. Ben Simmons plays very much like Giannis, but he's not as good as Giannis in the open court. He's a better passer than Giannis. He's a better playmaker than Giannis. But his inability to shoot makes it very hard for the guys around him to be effective in the half court. And if he doesn't change that, they can't play together. Now, I think that if the regular season goes well, you'll see Ben Simmons stay before the trade deadline. But if the season's going poorly for Philadelphia, I think Philly could definitely make a move to trade for James Harden, give up, Ben Simmons and some picks, couple pick swaps for James Harden. I think they'd have to give up another player to make the contracts work. So I know Ben doesn't make as much as James. I think James makes like 35, 40 million a year. I want to say Ben's in the 20 to 24 range, in the $20 million range. So they're gonna have to put up another contract to make the money work. But I would not be surprised if the Philadelphia 76ers start off have a bad had a if the Philadelphia 76ers have a bad start off, that they just trade Ben to get Harden, and I think Harden and Embiid work perfectly together. Now, Harden, once again, he's got to change the way he plays. If he wants to win, he has to adjust the way he plays, because that isolation basketball that he's been, leading the league in scoring with and winning, MVPs with, is not gonna win a championship. That's just not gonna happen. And I feel bad for him. Actually, scratch that. I don't feel bad for him. I just he needs to change the way he plays. If he doesn't, he's gonna be on that list of Karl Malone, John Stockton, Charles Barkley, of the greatest players to never win a championship. And I don't think he wants that. So you have to change his game. Next, now, bit of breaking news this morning is that the All NBA big man Rudy Gobert signed a 5-year, $205 million extension with the Utah Jazz, which I believe, I'm reading on ESPN right now, is the largest contract for a center in league history, which to me is absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't. $205 million for Rudy Gobert. Seriously? Utah. That's a that's wow. I'm shocked by that. I am shocked. Whoa. Hold up. Sorry about that. Some audio just came up. That's wow. I really don't know how to, take that. 5 years, 205. I would not have given him that money. Uh Rudy Gobert is a great rebounder, a great defensive player, not a great offensive player. So a guy who's kind of a one-way player, I would not have given a one-way player $200 million. That's a little too much, man. That's way too much. I don't think I could do that. That's wild. That's wild. It's just, I don't know how I feel about Rudy Gobert getting that type of money. That's a strange pairing. If Rudy Gobert was more of an offensive player, I'd be okay with that. If he was a guy who averaged like 20 and 15 instead of 15 and 15, I would be cool giving him $200 million. But his lack of an offensive game makes it hard to justify $200 million car a $200 million contract. Now he's an efficient player. His efficiency rating I think is like 22, which is that's a great efficiency rating. But man, I do not know how I feel about giving him that type of money. Man, I like Utah. I love Donovan Mitchell. I love his game. I love that kind of just his attitude. I think he's a great player, but that I think that's a bad contract, and a contract that's going to be hard to move, because although Rudy Gobert is young, I think I'm trying to remember, how old is he? I think he's like 20. I want to say what? Oh, like 28 maybe. Once again, sorry about that. I think Rudy's 28. So, but a 5-year extension, all NBA player, 4-time all defensive. I would have preferred a contract more similar. Well, actually, I think I would not have been comfortable giving him this contract, but I'm glad. I think he kind of had to with Utah. I think he probably had to in Utah give him this contract, which sucks. But it's not my money, so is what it is. Let's see what else has been coming up in the news today. Um, I oh yes, something came up with the De'Aaron Fox story of Amina Hassan kind of taking a shot at Darren Fox on the jump on uh on ESPN a couple days ago. Amin telling the world that Ja Morant is who Darren Fox thinks he is, and Ja, and De'Aaron to made it very clear that that he did not find those comments very flattering. De'Aaron made it very, very clear that was mad disrespectful, and he disrespected Amin in return. So De'Aaron Fox, I think, is one of the NBA's most underrated point guards. I think De'Aaron has steadily improved over the last few years, and the fact that nobody really knows it because De'Aaron plays in Sacramento with a team that's not very good. And Jesus Christ, yeah, ESPN website keeps loading videos and it's starting to get on my nerves, honestly. But where was I? Yes, De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox had a very good year last year. Averaged 21 points, 7 assists. Player efficiency rating above 20. I'm a numbers guy, so player efficiency rating matters to me. De'Aaron's only 22 years old. I think he's one of the best point guards in the league. I think he can. I think he's just as good as Ja Morant. And I know a lot of people are just very very high on John Morant, and they should be high on John Morant. But I think De'Aaron Fox is in that group with him. I think Josh progressed. I think Josh progressed quickly, but De'Aaron Fox wasn't as NBA ready. I don't think he was as NBA ready as Ja was, but he is no worse than Ja. I think he's just as good, a little older, a little stronger. He's only 22 years old. I think they're gonna have a. I think Sacramento might be able to make some noise. Sacramento's problem is Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley has not improved to the way that a lot of people thought he might. I think his career high is still like 14 points, 7 rebounds. Marvin Bagley he's not a bust, but he's not in that area. He's not in that NBA kind of, he's not in that young guy area. He's a player. Kind of all he is right now. And it's a shame that excuse me, that last couple of years he hasn't really been able to make anything really. But I'm not really sure what to say about him. He's a guy who's very 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 strange. I don't know what to make of his game. I don't know what to make of him. I think last I didn't watch a lot of Sacramento Kings basketball, so I don't really know that much about him. But from what I know he had last year was a bit of an injury late in season. So we'll see what you could get from him. But I think De'Aaron Fox signing that 5 year extension, $163 million extension, potential $190 million extension for the Sacramento Kings is gonna prove dividends because I think he's a great player. I think he's a great point guard, one of the five best young point guards in the NBA. He's in that, he's definitely alongside John Morant in that conversation. And I think people need to put some respect on his name. I think people very much need to put some respect on De'Aaron Fox's name. So that's all right. Give me a minute, you guys. I'm gonna take a short break, and I'll be back with you in a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. Sorry for the short intermission. Just had a couple things I had to handle, but I am back. Now, last segment, just talking about a couple of some of the early NBA news. Now, the NBA preseason has just come to a close with some, I think, some really good games, some really good showings. I think that you saw some things from some of the rookies this season. Lamelo Ball. First, we're gonna start off with Lamelo. Now, I didn't get to do my my pre-draft breakdown like I wanted to this year, but for people who don't know, I am a big fan of Lamelo Ball. I am very, very much a fan of his game. I think Lamelo is not only. I think he already might be a better player than his brother, who's already been in the league for a couple of years. He's got a better shot than than Lonzo. Lonzo's shot first couple years in the NBA was just broken. Now he's worked on it the last few years, and it's definitely gotten better. Last year, he was a much better 3 point shooter. I don't really know what happened in the bubble, but I kind of put the bubble aside. But last year, became a much better shooter, and Lamelo, his first couple games in Charlotte, looks very good, very good passer. Now, his first game, he threw a couple bricks up there, but you saw definitely the playmaking ability that made him, a potential number one overall pick. And you saw the fact that he's a big point guard who stands about 6'8". He's a great rebounder at his position. Great rebounder at his position. I mean, his length and his wingspan are definitely going to allow him to be, if he puts the work in, could definitely allow him to be a very good defensive player. Now, in his second game against, I'm trying to remember who he played against. I believe it was I believe it was the Orlando Magic that he played against. Charlotte against Orlando. I believe it was Orlando. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe it was Orlando. But yes, he had a very good showing. His second game, he had like 18 points. You know, hit like hit a couple threes. Hit hit a couple threes. Showed everyone that his shot looks a lot better than it was in the NBL. Looks You could tell he's been working on it for the last couple months. His shot's a lot smoother. He doesn't jump as much because I don't think he really needs to jump as much. His shots, he he's a good 3 point shooter. He's a better 3 point shooter. He's a lot better 3 point shooter than Lonzo was. He's going to be better on catch and shoot threes, and he's going to hit open threes. I don't know how his shot creation is going to work in the NBA. His shot, I don't think it's conducive to a guy who can hit a lot of step backs or just pull ups. But we'll see. But I think he looks good. I think he's just been. I think he's been a little maligned because some people I feel like just don't like him. But you could tell he's a gym rat. You could tell he absolutely loves basketball. And it sucks for his brother, Jello, who got cut from the Detroit Pistons, which didn't really make a lot of sense to me because I think that Jello. I mean, if you signed the kid to a 1 year deal with the intention that he's probably going to end up in the G League anyway, the fact that you just cut him really didn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know why they signed him just to cut him like that, but that's the way the business works. Now, for a couple of the other rookies, um, from what I have heard, I haven't really been able to watch Anthony Edwards play, but from what I've heard, Anthony Edwards has not been playing well in the preseason. I've been trying to, get some of Anthony Edwards highlights up, but he, from what I've been hearing, hasn't shown much in his couple preseason games out there in Memphis. I'm not Memphis, Minnesota. Sorry. I've been looking at some of his trying to find some of his box scores right now. There it is. Anthony Edwards averaging. Well, he did have a good. Well, no, he didn't. I was about to say he looked like he had a good last game against Dallas. He didn't. He played 26 minutes. He did score 17 points, but he was 5 for 15 from the field. Good from the 3-point line. 3 for 8. But his first couple games before that, I mean, 5 points, 2 for 9, 12 points, 4 for 14. A combined, what is it, 2 for 13 from the 3-point line. I think he's had a bit of a rough start in the NBA right now. We'll see how good he looks, but right now, he doesn't look overly good right now. He really doesn't. Now, as for I believe who was the number 2 overall pick? Number 2 overall pick was um James Wiseman. I don't know why his head. I don't know why he just kept getting lost in my shuffle. I don't know why his name wouldn't come up, but I haven't really seen anything of James Wiseman. No highlights on ESPN. Nothing. He just kind of like is like yeah, okay. Really? They DMP'd him. Has he played at all this preseason? I don't think so. He's played 3 game. No, I don't think he's played at all this preseason, like at all, and that's weird. That doesn't make much sense to me. I know the other rookies. Tyrese Halliburton looked good in his game against the Portland Trailblazers a couple days ago, but man, James Wiseman, I don't think he's played a game in in Oklahoma, in Golden State right now. So I think I don't think he's gonna be much in the running for a. I don't think he's gonna be much in the running for Rookie of the Year this year. I don't know how much he's gonna play because I know the Golden State Warriors are gonna want to get back into that playoff picture. So I doubt he's gonna play much, and I don't think Edwards is going to have that great of a year. If the preseasons are any indications, I know the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're going to be making a push to get to the playoffs. Like I said on the first episode of the pod, the Western Conference is like 12 teams deep. So, and the Minnesota Timberwolves could be one of those teams, but it's going to be a rough patch for Anthony Edwards. I don't think he's going to play that much. LaMelo, he's not on a good team. They could make a push for the playoffs, but I think he's going to get a lot of play. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to have a couple of 6-7 turnover games this season, but honestly, I think he'll be fine. Now, another team in the Western Conference I want to talk about is the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, the highlights, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, the Pelicans Heat, but I do watch a lot of highlights because I don't get to watch every single game, obviously, because nobody can watch every single game. You watch as much as you can and you catch the highlights of the other games. But the New Orleans Pelicans look great. Lonzo looked good. Brandon Ingram, he was in his bag against Miami, looks good. Zion Williamson looks to be in better shape. He looked athletic, smooth, nice touch around the rim. Zion, I hope he could get more into that Duke, defensive game, but his handles were there, athleticism. He wasn't dunking on anybody, but I think he's gotten better with his game. No restrictions this year, so I think you're going to see him play the whole year, and that's going to be a problem for the NBA, for the other teams in the Western Conference, because I believe Zion's a difference maker, and this is definitely a team that can make the playoffs. They just need to put everything together with Stan Van Gundy there. They're a good jump shooting team. They're going to be uh, they're going to be into the mix for the playoffs. Top 6 or 7 seeds are pretty much locked in the West, like I've said before. But yes, the New Orleans Pelicans are definitely going to be in the playoff mix. They're talented. They're deep. They've got a couple of scorers. They've got playmakers. They've got very good wing defenders. Lonzo and Brandon Ingram are both very good defenders. Zion, not yet, but from what I hear, he's going to be playing a lot of the three this year. Uh, a lot of the small forward position, which is I think good because Zion does have good handles. He's not a great shooter. He's not going to be on the perimeter the whole game, but he's strong enough to guard fours, but he's just not long enough given the fact Zion's only, I want to say, like 6'6". But we'll see. We'll very much see with Zion. The Heat also look good in that game too. Pat Riley once again doing it again. The Heat just, I know some people are saying that earlier this year's Heat run to the NBA Finals was a fluke. I do not believe that. I believe they're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They don't present a lot of problems. They're coached by the best coach in the Western Conference in Eric Spoelstra, maybe even the best coach in the league in Eric Spoelstra right now. Because as much as I love Pop, he's a little, his team's. I don't think his team's going to be do much in the way of getting into the playoffs this year. With DeMar DeRozan leading them, DeMar DeRozan's a good player, but LaMarcus Aldridge is older, and I don't think Murray is ready to be that number one. He's a good point guard, not a great scorer. And I think you need another great scorer near DeMar DeRozan to really get them into the playoffs, especially in the Western Conference. So they're probably going to be in the bottom of the West this year, maybe on the cuffs of making into the play-in tournament, but I don't have my hopes up. But once again, yes, the Miami Heat. I think they're one of the best teams in the East. I think they're going to make a serious run to the playoffs this year. They're arguably the best defensive team in the Eastern Conference. I think they could stop anybody. I think they can make life very difficult for the best teams in the East. So, we'll see. The was hold on. Back to the whole. Yeah, sorry about the pause. Really sorry about that. The Toronto Raptors. Back to the preseason. The Toronto Raptors and the Hornets played. Like I said, it was the Hornets game. It was the game against the Raptors where LaMelo Ball was just, hit his first. I think he hit his first three that game. His first big shot that game. But he looks. But they're a good team. The Toronto Raptors. Their issue is going to be able to see if Pascal Siakam's really ready to be that guy. But all in all, this preseason I think has been a rousing success. No, COVID issues. Nobody got COVID this time around. But we'll see. Nobody got COVID. But it's gonna be an interesting year for everyone. Hopefully, unlike the NFL, you're not gonna have a lot of guys. I think guys are gonna be responsible, especially with the vaccine coming out. I think a lot of guys are going to be responsible because the NBA is just so much more of a personal game than football. It's not as physical as football, obviously, but it's a more personal game than football. Personal to the point where if you're not, if one guy gets COVID, it is very easily that he could spread it to everyone on the court. So I think everybody's going to get tested. I think everybody's going to be responsible, with the exception of James Harden doing something incredibly stupid again. But we'll see. The earlier I mentioned, Giannis Antetokounmpo getting his 5-year supermax. I was able to catch their game against the Dallas Mavericks. The Bucks look good. Drew Holiday looked good on the team, played well. But the real surprise for me was how well Josh Richardson played. I forgot Josh Richardson was on the Dallas Mavericks, but he played very well. 23-7, had 5 3 pointers. Luca is was in his bag as per usual. 27 and 8. He these the Dallas Mavericks could very much. I was very much earlier when I did my Western Conference breakdown. I was very much on the belief that the Dallas Mavericks were that the Dallas Mavericks were a good team, but needed a healthy Kristaps Porzingis. I'm not so sure about that right now. I think to be a title contender, they need Kristaps healthy at the right time. But to make the playoffs, they're gonna make the playoffs this year. They're gonna finish in that top 6 area in the Western Conference, and I think Josh Richardson adds a dimension to this team. A talented player, good scorer, good shooter, rebounder, defender. He's going to add a dimension to this team to where he's going to be probably their third scorer when Kristaps gets back. Their their second scorer when Kristaps isn't playing due to whatever his issue at that moment is. We'll see. I know that's like kind of like my catchphrase of the show, but I think he's a good. I think they're good players. I think this is a good team. I think it's a well-run team, well-built team. We'll see what these guys can do next year. Um, now, give me one moment. All right. Back to work, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the SJP Files. Uh, when I left off, we were breaking down some of the preseason games that that have happened. Some of the preseason goings on in the NBA, and now that we're back, I'm gonna break down a couple of teams and a couple of players that I think looked really, really good. The Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics, both teams coming off, one team coming off a very disappointing, playoff run in the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, Daryl Morey, the new GM of the Philadelphia 76ers, has remade this team in a very, very short time, adding shooters to this team to the point where if you watch them play against Boston on TNT a couple of days ago, you'll see that the floor is just much more open. Ben Simmons, you can watch just Ben Simmons kind of weaving in and out of the offense, even in the half court. They just look better. The the team just feels like a better and more well-rounded team, a better constructed team. The 76ers, you could just see these guys kind of what I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for is they look better overall, offensively, defensively, playmaking wise. Joel Embiid has definitely been working on his mid-range game because he just looks better. He looks better. I think he's in slightly better shape. Still needs to lose weight. Still needs to lose weight, but he looks like he's in slightly better shape. And Ben Simmons, still playing his game. I don't really see him taking jump shots anytime soon. So I don't think they can win a championship. But the offense just looks more open, allowing him to work. Now we'll see if that works in the playoffs or if once again they fall short. But they just looked better. And for the Philadelphia 76ers, same thing for them. They looked better. They looked more seasoned. Taco Fall coming up from the G League. He looks good. Still needs to work on his game a little bit, but he looks good. Jason Tatum looks huge, looks bigger, stronger. Like I said, he's taller. I believe he's like 6'10" right now, but I mean, both of these teams can make deep runs into the playoffs, and I would not be surprised to see either one in the NBA Finals. I don't think either of them could win a championship right now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them either A in the NBA Finals or surprised to see either one of these teams trade for James Harden. The Philadelphia 76ers have a very strong asset in Ben Simmons, who would look great in a who would look great in a Houston Rockets jersey, and I think James Harden and Joel Embiid just fit better together. I think that would be more conducive to both of them winning a championship. Now, for the Boston Celtics, the Celtics issue is this current roster. I don't believe this current roster can win a championship. I don't think. I think they're a team that should be in the conversation for trading for James Harden. You give up Jalen Brown, maybe Marcus Smart, a couple pick swaps, and you could probably get James Harden if you're the Boston Celtics. Now, whether James wants to be in Boston is another story because you're going to have to give up a lot of capital to get him. But I think you put Jason Tatum alongside James Harden, and you got a real title contender there. Question is, would James be willing to take a step back? Because this would be Tatum's team. This is Tatum's team. So Tatum would have to sign off on this trade, which I'm not so sure he would. James doesn't have the most glowing reputation in the league when it comes to his playing style. And issue with Harden is Harden's played with Dwight Howard, He's played, yeah, he played with Dwight Howard. Then he played on his own. Then he played with Chris Paul. Then he played with Russell Westbrook. All of those relationships, with the exception of Russell Westbrook, I think him and Russ are still friends. I think they're still cool. I just don't think that Russ was a big fan of the way, Harden handled his business off the court, showing up late all the time to practices and team flights and film sessions. I think that kind of rubbed Russ the wrong way because Russ is a gym rat. If there's one thing about Russ that I will never critique, it's his work ethic. And I think James's work ethic kind of rubbed Russ the wrong way. So I think they're still cool, but I don't think they could play together anymore. And Chris Paul's another one of those work ethic guys. And Howard was injured a lot in Houston. I don't think he was ever truly healthy in Houston, but he looks good in Philly right now. He looks good in Philly too. I think that's a good match for him to be alongside Joel Embiid. Kind of handle a lot of that defense. I don't think they're going to be playing much together, but he's definitely going to be on that second unit. Give him a good punch off the bench. I think he should have stayed with the Lakers. Get him another, work on another championship. But the Lakers didn't really have that much to pay him. So I know he said he wanted to play. He was kind of tired of playing for free, but we'll see. Another team I want to talk about is the the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul made his Phoenix Suns debut, and they look like a serious threat this year to make some serious noise in the Western Conference. This could be a serious shakeup for them. The Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul leading this team. This is Devin Booker's team, but he's going to be the primary, playmaker. And they look good in their couple of games in the preseason. They look good against, they played a couple games against the Lakers, who also look like they found another gem in last year's offseason. THT Talon Horton Tucker, who just looks phenomenal right now. But I'm gonna get back. But I'm gonna get to that. Back to the Phoenix Suns. DeAndre Ayton looks like he's taken another step forward. Devin Booker has said, he's ready for playoff basketball. He's ready for the pressure that comes along with playoff basketball. This is a well-built team. They've got a very good coach in Monty Williams. You got a superstar in Chris Paul who has kind of been there, done that. I think he really wants to help this team, take the next step. And we'll see how well they play. You know, the preseason can only tell you so much. I think there was a preseason where the Pelicans went like 8-0 and then went on to have one of the worst records in NBA history. They were terrible that year. But I think this preseason more indicative of how teams are going to fall this year because the teams that have been playing, I wouldn't say their full complement of guys. You could kind of see how that team's going to play for the rest of the year. You know, Montrezl Harrell is very much fitting well into this offense, and you have Montrezl Harrell for the Lakers fitting well into their offense. You know, you have Miles. What's his name? Miles Bridges. I think it's Miles. Yes, Miles Bridges or Miles or Mikhail. It's one of the Bridges in Phoenix. Anyway, he looks good on that team. The Phoenix Suns could definitely make a lot of noise in this season's in the playoffs this year, and I honestly cannot wait to see how Chris Paul's arrival will affect this team. I think they're going to be a very good team this year, both offensively and defensively. They looked like a good defensive team against the Lakers. Now, to the Lakers, looks like they found, like I said, looks like they found a gem in Taylor Horton Tucker. He looks. Last year he didn't play much. He was second round pick last year. He didn't play much because he got injured a couple times last year and then spent most of the time in the G League. But remember, in the playoffs, he played a big part in the second round against the Houston Rockets. You know, they put him in there and he played well. And it looks like he's only gotten better since it's only like he's only gotten better since then. You know, dropped like a 30 plus point game against the Clippers. You know, ripped Kawhi Leonard a couple times, but I think the Lakers are arguably the deepest team, the deepest title. Not even arguably, they are the deepest title contender this year. They just look so much better. It looks like Kyle Kuzma has definitely. I feel like Kuzma's definitely more comfortable in his role as I think he's probably going to be the third scorer. He's definitely the third scorer on this team. But you have Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench, probably. I would say Montrezl Harrell is probably going to be coming off the bench alongside Dennis Schroeder, which I think would be great for them. Let those two run the second unit. And this team just looks like they haven't missed a beat. They look great. You know, AD made his preseason debut. AD and LeBron made their preseason debuts. And this is a team that I've said before, they look like they're going to repeat with no real issue. I mean, they're going to have they're the cream of the crop of the NBA right now. They're at the top and I don't really see anybody beating them in a 7-game series if healthy. You know, knock on wood, if healthy. I don't think anyone has a real chance of stopping the Lakers. They just they look. Yes, Dunmore. Sorry about that, guys. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Just got slightly interrupted there for a minute. But where was I? Yes, the Lakers, who look, like I said, look like they are in another stratosphere compared to the other teams in the NBA. They just look like they're not gonna have much issue repeating. Is like I said, as long as they stay healthy, and they're gonna be just fine. Now, I'm gonna swing back to the Eastern Conference. The New Orleans Pelicans, not the I'm saying the Pelicans. I remember where they were still in Chart when they were there, the New Orleans Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets, as I was attempting to talk about, the Charlotte Hornets look like a good young team. You know, Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball, Devontae Graham. They look like a three-headed monster in the backcourt for that team. They're gonna Ooh, they're gonna create some problems for some of the teams at the top, not the top of the Western Conference, but at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, looking to make the playoffs. LaMelo Ball looks great. Looks like he is well worth a top 5 pick. I know his brother had a really bad first season in the NBA, but I don't think LaMelo's going to have that. I think LaMelo's just already, already as good. He might be as good as Lonzo is right now. He just looks good. His shot looks better than Lonzo's. It's smoother. It's more. It's more conducive to a winning jump shot. Something you could do over and over and over again. Now I think his jump shot starts a little too low, like around his chest or his chin. But hey, it works. It goes in, and they're gonna be a tough team. They're probably gonna finish maybe around 500 this year, which means they're probably not gonna make the playoffs. But I think this is a team that could definitely surprise some people, especially with Lamelo. I know he had like an air ball a couple of days ago, but still a good shooter. I think he's far and away the favorite to win Rookie of the Year this year. Far and away the favorite to win Rookie of the Year this year. Now, I was also watching the Golden State Warriors play. Now, a lot of people who listen to the first episode know I am not the biggest fan of Andrew Wiggins. I don't like him. I think he's immensely talented. I question his love for the game. Always have, always will. But looks good. He looks good. Kelly Bray Jr. He looks good, and Steph looks like he's back to MVP form. I know he got the cornrows. He got the cornrows right now, but he very much looks like he's gonna be in MVP form this year. This could be a special year for Steph Curry. Also, the Golden State Warriors, in my opinion, should be in the running. I don't know why they're not in the running to try and get James Harden. James Harden with Steph Curry could be an amazing backcourt combination, and when Clay gets back, that could just be a three-headed monster that could just shoot the ball out the gym. You got two of the best ball handlers in the league. You got three of the best shooters, maybe in NBA history. You got the two best shooters in NBA history in Steph and Clay, and you would have Harden, who's a great one-on-one player. I think you could make that trade happen. Probably, you probably make that trade happen for maybe Wiggins. I don't know if you'd give up Oubre, but Wiggins, maybe even Wiggins, Wiseman, and some picks and pick swaps because you're not going to use those anyway. But that could be a challenge for them. If I'm Houston, I don't do that deal because I'm not the biggest fan of Wiggins, but I think they should be in the conversation for that. And back to the Nets. As some of you know, the Nets are my favorite team in the NBA. They're the team that I absolutely love. They're my hometown team. That's my crew. That's my team. That's those are my dudes. But we had a bit of I know people, kind of going at Kyrie Irving for him burning, sage. And what was it? I think it was burning sage in like the where was it? I'm trying to remember what arena it was in. But I think it was him burning sage. Yeah, at the TD Water Garden in when he played the Celtics. Yeah, him just he's new. It looks like he's got a new pregame ritual. I know a lot of people are taking shots at him, but hey, I'm a spiritual person, and if that's what you got to do to make yourself feel comfortable, burn some sage around the court, and if it helps you ball, man, do what you got to do. And some people are weirded out by this. Some people taking some unnecessary shots at him. Now, I believe it was last week. I took some shots at Kyrie because of his, desire to not speak to the media, which I thought was ridiculous. But no, he's come off that fairly quickly after after that $25,000 fine, tried to walk back the comment of him calling the media pawns. I'm not gonna get into that again. But Kyrie Irving, this, people kind of coming at him for this was, I think, was completely unnecessary. He was just he's just doing him. And like I said, Kyrie's a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual person. He's trying to put out good energy into the TD Water Garden. He had nothing but good things to say about the Boston Celtics. So, everybody kind of needs to just get off him for that. I know it's a little weird, but to him it works. It helps. So get off the man ass on that. Um, I want to jump into a little baseball. Now, the MLB has. I'm not the biggest baseball guy. I like to play it, but I don't really like to watch it. Now, the MLB earlier this league, you know, named the Negro Leagues, classify them as now a major league essentially, which means they're the Negro Leagues numbers from, I think it was 1920 to 1948. Their numbers, their statistics are now elevated to join the major league statistics. So their statistics are now part of Major League Baseball. Kind of is something that should have happened a long time ago, in my opinion. But they finally got around to doing it. They altered their own records, which is great. The Negro League finally, getting the recognition they deserve. But this is something I think that should have happened a long time ago, but it finally happened. So, congratulations to the players who played in the Negro League, and congratulations to the guys who can finally get their recognition. Because when the Negro League players started coming into the major league, you saw a lot of great players, first and foremost, Jackie Robinson, who was the rookie of the year that year. Jackie, a great player. That's why we remember the first African American to play in baseball, rather than most people don't know who the first African American to play in the NBA is, or who the first African American to play in the NFL is, because they weren't great players. Jackie Robinson was a great player, Hall of Fame player, and that's why we remember him. So, once again, big ups to the MLB for, acting right. Took them a while, but they got it done. They got it done. Um, Next, I'm gonna drop a little bit into the NFL. Now, actually, scratch that. The NFL is something I'm going to get to when the playoffs start. When the playoffs start is when I'm going to get into the NFL, because, to be honest, the regular season has interested me very little this year. I don't know why. This is the first time this happened, but the NFL has very little interest for me this year. So I'm going to get to the NFL when the preseason starts. Now, I'm going to do something I said I was going to do last week. I'm going to break down the NBA's top the ESPN's ranking of the NBA's top 100, which is interesting. So we're going to start at number 100, Joe Harris. I'm on ESPN Plus because I have Disney Plus, so I'm on ESPN Plus this year. So I'm on the official ESPN website looking this up. Let's see. Number 100, Joe Harris. His previous rank was 89. Let's see. Swing skill. Harris provides another viable, offensive option if defenders sag off him to double Kyrie or Kevin Durant. Started all 69 games he played in last year. Shot 42% from the three on 6 attempts. Recently signed a 4-year, $75 million deal. I think that's good for. No. I think Joe should probably be higher. Then we have number 99, Marcus Morris Sr. Could care less. Last year he wasn't ranked. This year he's in the top 100. I think that's a good spot for him. Otto Porter Jr. I don't know if he should be on this list. Honestly, I don't think he should. I don't think Otto Porter Jr. should be on this list. Kind of, he's not had a good couple years. You got Derek White at 97, who was 100 last year. Um, Good 3-point shooter with the Spurs. We'll see. Mark Gasol, who was ranked 61 last year, big drop off, big drop off. But I can see that coming in because Mark didn't have a great year last year. Only averaged 7.5 points a game, 6 rebounds. But this year, he's definitely gonna have a much better year with the Lakers. Probably the best passing big man in the game. Then we got LaMarcus Aldridge, who dropped all the way down to dropped from 41 down to 95. Now this is mad disrespectful to my man LaMarcus. This mad disrespectful to LaMarcus. He should definitely be higher on this list. Jared Allen, to be honest, he should be starting. He should be higher because I think he should be starting. He would have been higher if he had started last year, but they started DeAndre Jordan, which was stupid. Which was stupid. Didn't like it. Still don't like it. Next is Ricky Rubio, who was 84 in his previous rank last year. Sounds about right. 84 to 93. Sounds about right. Got Mitchell Robinson, who's the 20-year-old 7-footer from New York. The Knicks. Sounds it's right. Seth Curry should be higher. Seth Curry should be higher on this list. I'm not saying top 50. I'm saying 60s, maybe 70s, but he should be higher than 91. And the hell you mean he won rank last year? Ugh. Got Patrick Beverly at 90. I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Joe Ingles at 89 should be higher. Jeremy Grant, that's a good that's good for him not being, ranked last year. Uh Definitely made himself, a lot of money in the offseason, 3 years, $60 million with the Pistons. But I think that's a good starting rank for him on this list. Buddy Hield also should be higher. He should be higher. The hell you mean 87? Top 60. Keep it moving. Brooke Lopez, I like that. 86. I think he should be around his previous rank of 80. Danilo Gallinari, 85 after being ranked 91 last year. I think good placement. I think he's going to be. Actually, no. Scratch that. He should be higher this year. If he was still coming off the bench, I think he'd be great. I think he'd be there, but I think he's going to play a much bigger part in Atlanta. So I would go higher. John Collins. How did he fall from 47 to 84? Really? No. He needs to be higher. Top 50. DeJounte Murray. Mm, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with DeJounte. DeMar DeRozan. 82. This is mad disrespectful to DeMar. I am so sorry, DeMar. I know you had a rough year getting traded to Houston to San Antonio 2 years ago, but man, you should be a lot higher than 82. This list is mad disrespectful to DeMar Rose, and he needs to get back up there. John Wall. Now, John Wall being 81 doesn't bother me because John Wall is coming off two serious injuries of the last couple of years. It's been almost 2 full calendar years, like 730 days or something, since he's played basketball. So him not being so what ma apologies for the interruption. Just got interrupted by somebody. Now where was I? Yeah, John Wall coming off two big injuries over the last couple years. He hasn't played basketball in I believe 700 days. So him being 81 doesn't bother me at all. Now I've seen him play in the preseason and he looks great. His former ranked before his injuries was 32nd. So I think I think he's gonna get back into the top 50 this year. He definitely deserves it. He looks great. And we got Josh Richardson at 80. I think he's gonna take a bigger jump this year because him playing with Luka Doncic is gonna just have his 3-point percentage is gonna skyrocket. Him playing with with Luka. We got Dennis Schroeder, who was 79 after not being locked, and not being ranked last year, which is a crime. He should have been, finished second in Defensive Player of the Year. Not defense, but Sixth Man of the Year last year. Sorry, finished second. So he should probably be higher on this list. Aaron Gordon, I have no real issue with him being at 78. I really don't. His scoring average has gone down the last couple years. So you got KCP at 77. After his playoff run, he deserves to be in the top 100. I know some of y'all don't like it. Get over it. Got Montrezl Harrell at 76. Fell off last year because once again the bubble kind of hurt him too. But he'll be up on this list next year after his year with the Lakers. Duncan Robinson was not ranked last year, and I believe he was a rookie last year. So either he was a rookie or last year was his second year. But I'm comfortable with him being at 75. Miles Turner at 74. I don't have much to say about this because I didn't pay much attention to the Indiana Pacers last year. So, was it Bojan Bogdanovic in Utah? One of the Bogdanoviches. Utah just gave him a new contract. 41% from 3. He should be higher on this list, top 50. PJ Tucker, 71. Mike Conley, 70. No. Yeah, PJ Tucker, 72. Mike Conley, 71. Mike Conley did not have a good year last year. So I have no problem with him sliding from 24 to 71. No problem with it whatsoever. Steven Adams at 70. D'Angelo Russell at 69, which is a crime. I know he got hurt last year, but this is a crime. He should be higher on this list. He should be top 50. He should not have fallen all the way to 69. That's crazy. No. You got OG Anunoby at 68. I'm fine with that. Eric Bledsoe at 67, his exact same rank last year. I'm fine with that. Serge Ibaka at 66. I think he should be lower on this list. I think 66 is too high for him. Blake Griffin at 65. Now, Blake Griffin had an injury-laden season last year, which is why he fell from 23 to 65. As long as he stays healthy, he'll be back up into the top 30. But he's got way too many injuries. So this doesn't kill me. Yeah, Kevin Love at 64. I'm cool with Kevin Love at 64. TJ Warren at 63 after not being ranked last year. I mean, his bubble play, he deserves to be this high on this list. You got Bogdan Bogdanovic in Atlanta, 62. Completely cool with that. Davis Bertans at 61. I think he should be a little higher, honestly. Got Robert Covington at 66. I'm fine with that. He had a really good season last year, and him going to Portland, I think is going to be really good for him. Got Tyler Hero at 59. Now, this might be a little too high for him, especially this making his debut on the list, but I don't hate it. Goran Dragic at 58. I'm fine with that. Tobias Harris at 57. Also fine with that. Zach LaVine at 56. He should be higher. Yeah, he should be higher. Not a great defender, but he should be higher on our list than 56. Christian Wood at 55, completely fine with that. He had a really good season. I think he's gonna blow up in Houston playing with James Harden, especially if James ends up staying this year. I think him playing with Harden, he's gonna have a great year. Him playing with Harden and John Wall in that pick and roll, coming off for lobs and alley oops. Got Lonzo at 54. I'm fine with that. Lonzo had a really good year last year, except for the bubble. He couldn't shoot in a bubble, but he worked on his jump shot and he's better this year. Jusuf Nurkic, 53, completely fine with that. Coming back from an injury, play well in the bubble. He's gonna help as long as he can stay healthy this year. He's gonna help them make some noise in the Western Conference. Got DeAndre Ayton at 52, fine with that. Michael Porter Jr. at 51 after not being ranked last year. Great. I think he's gonna take another big step this year, so I'm completely cool with this one. So that's numbers 100 to 50 to 51. Next next. So that's gonna be it for today's show. I usually do about a 90-minute show, give or take. So this is pretty much gonna be it for today's show. Next week I'm gonna do next week is well, I wouldn't say next. Yeah, next week I'm gonna do next week is gonna be the what is it 50-1 sometime early next week. It's gonna be kind of like a special episode. Will I do the 50 to the 1? So probably it's not gonna go up tomorrow. It's probably gonna go up Tuesday. It might be tomorrow or Tuesday when I put the episode. That'll be episode kind of like a mini episode 4. It's gonna be a short episode. Will I do just the top 50 of that top 50 of the ESPN list. And then I'm probably going to get into the Sports Illustrated top 100 list also. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to the Sjp Files episode 3. I am your host, SJP. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast. And let me know. You can find me on Twitter at the Sjp Files. You can find me on Instagram at the Soapbox Mark. You can find me on YouTube at the Sjp Chronicles. If you have any questions, any comments on my pod, anything you would like me to talk about, let me know on Instagram, Twitter, or in the Facebook comment section. See you next week, guys.